Hey guys, so I've been wanting to make this video for a while now. Deer season's coming up. Some people have started. We got about 10 days left here in Michigan. So I wanted to go over a few things I use on state land to help me get in and out of the woods, mark deer, mark trail, all that stuff that I think a lot of people could use. But I've been trying it out for a couple of years and loving it. So I went on Amazon and bought a black light, a UV light. And it was about 15 bucks, and it's been saving my ass on a lot of things. So I don't use a normal windicator. I just use that bottle and I fill it full of chalk. I've been experimenting with it, find different chalks that work well, you know, real fine dust. Well, I've been using different kinds, but right now I got this Venom, right? Yeah, green, extremely visible, CE Tools stuff. It's just Menards. It's like 8 bucks for that. I like green. Green looks like moss. You throw it against a tree and it just looks like moss. But what I'll do is I'll use it for a windicator, and then if I shoot a deer, if I need to mark my trails in and out of the woods, whatever I'm doing, first blood, whatever, I'll hit the tree with that windicator because it's just thick enough where it doesn't just poof, you know, it hits the tree and sticks. And then I'll go through with my black light and be able to hit it, and I can actually see the stuff out to 75 yards, whatever it may be. But if you hit it with a regular light, you won't see it. You won't notice it unless you know it's there. So it's cool because if you are on state land or even, you know, your own piece of property and you either got trespassers, whatever it may be, you can mark a tree with it, and then when they come in, you don't have a bunch of these kunai looking tabs all over the woods marking exactly where you're going to go. And you know, then you got to either take them up, or like state land around here, most people just leave them up, so when you hit the woods it looks like there's 1,000 coons in the trees just because of all the, you know, those reflector tabs. So what I do is I mark my trail in and out with that, and I use my UV light to get in and out of the woods, because a lot of the spots where I'm hunting there is no cell service. So you know, either there's no cell service or it's horribly spotty, where you'll mark where your tree stand was. Let's say you shoot a deer and then you try and return to that spot, and all of a sudden you're 10 feet off, then 20 yards off, then 40 yards off. Me and my brother had this issue last year, and so we're trying to incorporate this stuff a little more where we can actually pinpoint exactly where we are without having to rely on GPS. Another thing I use, glow sticks. Glow sticks have saved my ass a few times because a lot of us, we get excited to go trail a deer after we've shot it. We don't wait for our friends, even though we say we're going to wait. We always take up the trail and go, you know, 50 yards, 100 yards, whatever it might be. Well, these are handy, not only for marking exactly where you were, but if you start blood trailing. If you have 2 of these, it's like having a buddy system. So you crack this thing open, and then you can stick it exactly where you first shot the deer, first blood, whatever, and then you start taking up the blood trail. Once you find more blood, you stick that one up, and you go back and get your other one. And you just keep on, you know, leapfrogging over top of yourself, and essentially you can stay on that trail without having to have either another person there or without losing your spot and then, you know, getting turned around in the woods, whatever. Also, you can use the chalk system. It's super cheap. You can just lay down a line of chalk as you're walking or hit on tree limbs or whatever. You turn around with your UV and you can see that whole line. I've done super thick on your hands and knees brush, and you'll be able to see that whole line of chalk all the way through the back of the woods. So that's what we have been using and trying to see if we like it. I actually shot a deer with my wife, and she shot one a couple years ago, and we weren't exactly sure where the stand was, but we put all of our equipment around the field edge so we could drive up to it. So instead of crushing all of our gear or something happening, I hung one of these up, and you could see it from almost 300 yards away. Super bright. They're about $1.50 a piece, and you know, they're great just to have. Even, you know, if you have a buddy coming out and you don't want to walk all the way back to the car, whatever it is, you can hang this up and be like, hey, here's roughly where I'm at, and then all they gotta see is just the glow stick or whatever. The other thing I use my black light for is fletchings. I went back and forth between high-vis fletchings, low-vis fletchings, all that stuff. Well, now I'm using a 7-inch orange wrap with 3 orange fletchings. My wife has the same thing on hers, and this is awesome to find with a black light. My brother actually shot a deer a couple years ago, and it was quartering away really hard, so he stuck it right between the last rib and the guts. Well, it didn't go all the way through, and there was no blood trail because it had sealed it up. The deer only went about 100 yards, but I brought my black light out, and because he had white veins and white wrap, we were able to actually see it from about 50 yards out. You could see that white from that arrow glowing while it was still stuck in the deer. So yes, we could have grid searched and kept going, but it was really nice to hit it with that black light and be able to go, oh, there's your deer. So that's one thing that I love is A, just getting your arrow back to see where you hit the deer, what kind of blood, whatever. But then, you know, if your deer, you know, the deer takes off with your arrow in it, all of a sudden you can hit the woods and, you know, you might see a big bright orange glow. This thing glows like a glow stick. So when I hit it with a UV, you can see this from a ways out through all the timber and all the woods. As long as that UV can catch it, it'll make it glow. So what I'm going to try and do is go out in the yard and kind of explain in the dark with the UV what I'm talking about as far as using regular light and then being able to hit something with that UV light and be able to catch it and expand that glow. That way you can use it to get in and out of the woods, find, you know, your deer, your arrow, whatever it might be to use it. Maybe you guys can use this on your hunts. Okay, I'm going to try and do this the best I can. It's going to be kind of hard to pick up, especially the amount of glow. That's one thing that kind of sucks with photos, camera. It kind of dilutes that UV light. When I say that this stuff glows, I mean it glows like if you were to take a glow stick and break it open. It glows like that when you hit it with the UV light. So I'm going to kind of show you what I'm talking about as far as like example of light versus a UV light or the black light, and then hopefully you'll be able to pick up on that glow. But back here it just looks like regular grass. Can't really see much, and then you go up there and you can kind of see something on that tree. Well, if I kill this light and I hit my black light, like I said, it's going to be really hard to pick it up. I'm going to try my best, but this is how it looks with a black light. Like I said, it's really hard to pick up how much it glows, but if I put that down and hit it with a white light, it just looks like normal yard. This is the chalk that I use, and the chalk that I typically use on this is the water resistant or water, yeah, I guess water resistant because it's not really waterproof. But this stuff will stay on the trees for weeks if you have no rain, and if it rains, it takes a good storm to get this off. But this is what I'll mark my trails out to the deer stand with if I want to go back in the morning or whatnot. But right here on this tree, if my camera will focus right there, you can see that X. Now that's a huge X, and I normally wouldn't put that on a tree that big unless I'd killed something, and I definitely got to find this from across the woods. So normally I would just do like a little spritz, because a little spritz of this will go a long way. But if I come up here, you can already see how that's glowing, and I can see that from all the way across my yard. So the other thing is if I don't use light up Nox. So if I have my arrow out here, you can kind of see it there. Now if it was laying on the grass, it's even harder to see. But as soon as I hit it with that black light, this thing just stands out like somebody just lit it up. And it's not giving off a giant, you know, radius of like a normal flashlight. But you can see the closer I get to this, the brighter that thing gets. And on the camera it looks really white, but it's glowing like it's hot orange. See if we can get a better angle of it. But as you can tell, if you look at the grass, it's not, with that UV light, it's so dark. That's how much it stands out compared to a normal flashlight. So right there, if I'm going through the woods, it almost looks whitish because that light reflects around it versus soak into it and absorb it and then reflect it back like a UV will. So whenever you're marking a trail, you just kind of dust it, and you don't have to go haywire. I did it just for the video, but you can mark it all the way out, just like it looks like an alien got shot. And then somebody walks in behind you, they had no idea you were even there. You can kind of see a speckling of green, but as long as you did it sparse and didn't make it a trail where you could essentially, you know, dump it out like water pouring, then you could actually have a nice trail where nobody could see where you went in, where you went out, and you can mark your tree for the morning or that night and be able to get out of the woods safely. So guys, that's going to wrap up the video. Like I said, these are awesome as far as not only being able to see where you hit, low light, whatever, just from the arrow flight, but it's awesome on that UV light to actually pick it up. once you've either sunk it in the ground, stuck it in a deer, whatever it might be, shoot it at a squirrel, who knows. That UV light's pretty sweet just to throw it in your backpack and have it for that reason. I will say some fletchings don't work that well. These are all boning with a boning wrap. I have had some fletchings just playing around with my other friends' arrows that are kind of like a little bit of a light, like it doesn't work the way this does. So there's certain fletchings that works awesome, certain fletchings that don't really work the best. But I will say all of the boning ones that I've tried work awesome. So same with the chalk. Chalk is $7. That light was 14, I think, on Amazon. So for under 20 bucks, it's something that you can play around with, or just over 20 bucks, play around with and see if you like it, see if you don't. I have OnX, I have Google Maps, I have all that, and I've still been stuck in the woods going, where am I going? And if you don't know how to read a compass or don't know which ways you walked in, whatever, it's nice to have something as a backup to kind of make sure you go in the right spot, because we've all been turned around in the woods, no matter if it's your own property, somebody else's, or state land. We've all been turned around, and it sucks because you start to get frantic and everything else. But it's sweet for marking deer, it's sweet for blood trails, and it's just nice to have for a windicator. I love using that because I chalk and windicate with it. I know it's not those little pods, you know, but it still works the same, still gets the job done. Glow sticks, super cheap, and like I said, those are great just to have as far as, you know, you get stranded in the woods, you need to mark a spot, you need to do the old leapfrog to find a deer to blood trail. All that stuff works awesome. So hopefully everybody has a good season. We're getting ready to kick off here. Just check the cameras tonight, and we have some shooters on camera. So good luck to everybody, and hope this helps you in the near future.